The Devil and the Duke, a Revelry's Tempest novel. Written by K.J. Jackson. Narrated by Anais Inara Chase. Prologue. Arapiles, Spain, August 1812. Ignoring the blood dripping from his hand and the uncontrollable tremble that held his fingers hostage, Logan sank to his knees and reached down. Down into the embers. Down into the ashes. Bone. Shreds of a dress. Scorched hair. The smell burning his nostrils. A tiny glimmer. The ring, clutched in the bent crook of her finger bones. Clutched until the very end. His wife's ring. The ribbon she'd always wrapped around the band to make it fit snug on her delicate finger had burned away, leaving nothing but a gaping, empty hole within the scorched gold. He'd offered to have a goldsmith resize it 100 times, but she'd always refused. She'd wanted it exactly as he had given it to her. His hand shaking, he plucked the ring from her charred grasp, ashes clinging to his skin. It was what he deserved. Choosing his soulmate over his men. He knew this would happen, knew she would die. Leave him alone on this earth. He'd known it from the start. Known it since she was 3 and he was 5. One did not grow old in the world they existed in. For death followed him. It always had. But he'd gotten away with loving her for as long as he did, a mere trick he had played on fate. Fate had finally caught up to him. Fate knew he wasn't worthy of her love. Just the same as he did. His head jerked up at the rifle shots thundering into the air outside the cottage. Steel clanging against steel. Yelling. Shrieks. Boney's forces were rampaging, dealing death. He pushed himself to his feet and grabbed his sword from the smoking embers. Let them. He was ready. Chapter 1. Yorkshire, England, June 1823. Logan gasped a breath, the air freezing in his lungs as his body seized upon itself, stilling his motion, stopping his feet. He'd followed the woman from the village, followed her as she walked past the rows of cottages lining the dirt path that ran at a cross direction to the main road through the village of Sandfell. That he'd even seen her, even been in this part of Yorkshire, had been happenstance. Torrential rains had turned the roads along his usual eastern route into a hoof-sucking, muddy mess, so he'd travelled inward. He had just stepped outside of the coaching inn where he'd spent the night, eager to get to his horse and be on his way when he spied her. For as much as he'd needed a break from London and the Revelry's Tempest, a break from the 3 proprietresses of the gaming house flitting about in wedded bliss and the bi-weekly drama that ensued from the gaming nights, visiting his estate in Northumberland hadn't given him the respite he'd hoped for. Once a year, obligation forced him to make the journey north to meet with Hunter, his steward of the lands and his Northumberland interests. Whereas he usually enjoyed his time in the north, in the clean air that didn't fill his lungs with muck day after day, this particular trip had found him itching to escape the area, itching to escape the happiness that his friend was flushed with. Hunter's 3 young children, 2 boys and 1 girl, were all healthy, curious, and enamoured with their Uncle Logan. Logan hadn't sat without a child on his lap for a week. Hunter's wife, a surgeon and bone setter by luck of her father passing down his skills, had served Logan's lands as their healer, midwife, and general scourge upon any travelling apothecary that dared to set foot in her domain. Beyond her many assets, the woman still looked at Hunter as though he was the only man in the world. Bliss all around. Too much of it.
Sample complete. Ready to continue?